Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Charissasealey, and on this channel I make content all about faith, love, and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video. So if you guys ready, I'm definitely ready. Let me So guys, in today's video, we are going to be talking about walls versus boundaries. Now this came up due to partly a personal experience slash something I saw on the Gram and Amis Instagram. So as you all know, your girl's single, living my best life, and in this season, like, I've been asking God to help me just be content in this period of time, because as we remember, maybe a few videos ago, maybe 3 or 4 videos ago, where we did the first episode of Single and Secure, I asked my friend Rochelle Lee the question, what would happen if it just never happens to you? Like, would you be able to still like be content? And that famous moment where she's just like, have you ever considered what if it just never happens? Like, because
what you mean?
Like, what you mean? It's just hilarious. And like, so I've been, asking God to help me be content. It's like a daily journey. It's not something that, okay, you talk about once or you think about once and then that's it. You have your good days and then you have your days where you're feeling like lonely. And even in those moments, you have to remember you are just like, you may feel lonely, but you're not alone, right? Anyways, so I had an experience where, somebody boy child asked well, and like he was making sense and everything. And at that point in time, I kind of freaked out. I was just like, and it did not play off in my mind the way I thought it would play out. Like, I didn't understand why I was so, like, had such an aversion to the whole thing, because it's a really nice guy and everything like that, but I was just freaking out, and I felt myself pulling away and thinking like, yo, this is me having boundaries, making sure that I don't repeat the mistakes I would have made in like past relationships, which is a good thing. But then I recognized that, those boundaries I'm saying that I have are not really boundaries. They are walls. And like, this was confirmed. The Lord will speak to you. Like, you may be thinking about something, experience something, and then somebody start talking about that same thing. So like later on, I saw an Instagram video from this guy right here. And yes, David, I'm giving you a week. I'll tell you the new people. David like, huh? This guy right here, he was doing a live with different men, Christian men, and they were talking about relationships amongst other things. And I remember I saw the snippet of one guy in particular when he was talking about walls versus boundaries, where we think we have boundaries so that we could, be safe, protect ourselves, and have like healthy relationships, when we actually have walls up. And I was like, ouch, that's me right there. That's exactly what was happening. I'm thinking I'm doing something for my betterment, for the good of whatever God has in store for me, when truly I actually self-sabotage it. I'm keeping away whatever potential blessings God may have for me in the whole relationship scope, because I'm putting up walls. So let's talk about that a little bit. And of course, I have my handy dandy notebook, y'all. We out in the streets, not worth forgetting, because I'm cute.
Bruh.
New angle, who this? Because you won't kick the thing. That is okay. David Tamada didn't need to say that, but I wanted to. So I just have like a short list here of the differences between boundaries and walls, so we can help identify for ourselves If we in our day-to-day lives are actually putting up walls where we think we are putting up boundaries. So a boundary comes from a place of wisdom and growth, a place where you sought after the Lord, and He would have revealed things to you. Meanwhile, a wall comes from a place of fear. So it's not so much that you're trying to do what is right, as so much as you're scared of a consequence of whatever is going to happen, and so you put up these walls as a way to safeguard yourself. A boundary requires us to trust in God, because as much as we would like to think we can handle it on our own, we truly cannot. And if God isn't in the midst of it, we could actually do more harm than good. So a boundary requires us to really be in communion with God, like daily. And as we develop, as we mature, as we grow, as our situations change, as we maybe move to a new place, and as we change in our lives, as we continue to develop, those boundaries may have to change as well. And the only way that we could do that in a meaningful way that actually makes sense is if we are trusting in God. Meanwhile, a wall requires us to trust in nobody but ourselves. In essence, we take the guard your heart real to an extreme that takes God out of the equation. Because even when we're saying, okay, you need to guard your heart, you need to safeguard, the only person who could truly guard our heart is Jesus Christ himself. We can't do it on our own accord, like on our own strength. Because we may think that we going on the right path, when really we are hardening our heart. Because instead, for us, when we think we have to guard something, we just keeping out everything. We it's a no for you, it's a no for you, it's a no for you. Anything that smells kind of sus to us, like in our own thinking, in our own reasoning, we exit out. And that is one quick way to end up alone. Not just in a romantic sense of the way, but even with platonic friendships, with family members. That's the easiest way to end up alone, because you will push everybody away thinking, yo, well, I see this is a kind of sketchy situation, or this didn't play out how I want, or you didn't react how I wanted you to react, so I'm going to keep you away because I have to protect my heart. Like the Lord say I have to guard my heart, when really the only way we can effectively guard our hearts is if we give it over to Jesus Christ, if we hand over the authority to God, because He is the one who will be able to filter out those things. Our responsibility is, when He reveals things to us, when He shows us, okay, this is something you would want to avoid, this is something that I'm giving you the green light for, to trust Him enough to take those paths and to follow His instructions. So another thing with boundaries is that it brings a sense of soberness and clarity and a sense of peace. When you're doing something that you're called to do, you're walking in your purpose, it's just like, even if things don't always go exactly to how you would want it to go, according to your plan, there you always have a sense of peace, stillness, because you're in the path that God has placed you in, you're doing what you're supposed to do. So even if madness happening around you, you chilling. Meanwhile, when you put up walls, it can bring a sense of confusion, because the thing is, you thinking that, okay, you're going on the right path, and really you're blocking God's ability to help you in a situation. So now you trying to figure out everything, you trying to deal with all the situations that may pop up as you go along in when you're trying to get to know somebody, whether again for a relationship or just for a friendship, and it causes a sense of confusion. So that's one of the easiest ways to identify whether the things you putting in place to so-called safeguard yourself or guard your heart is actually a wall or a boundary. I kind of like to think of it as, what's this scientific thing? Osmosis, right? Never mind. I know I was going by and I'm going to continue that.
Osmosis is water, diffusion is air.
Yeah. Because, osmosis is the cell, right?
Right.
And, there's a barrier that allows certain to go in or to come out, right? So that's what I mean. It's that's what the like a proper boundary is supposed to do. Like it's like a good filtering process where it's like you allow things to go out and when everything can't just roll in. You dig? It can't just be you dig?
Fine.
But what we do in here when we add on walls is that process is blocked.
Okay.
So now you not getting all the nutrients it's supposed to get from the inside, and guess what happens when a cell doesn't get the required nutrients? It just die. So a boundary also allows for safe communication between two people. Like honestly, the meeting mat. I know you lying. You all saw that? It raining, so all the animals coming out. I'm upset. I'm upset. Right. So a boundary allows for safe communication between two people. Meanwhile, a wall will stifle the communication. So you kind of see what I'm going with here. It's like the pattern is pretty similar. A boundary allows for things to flow through, for there to be a nice exchange between two people that can be done safely, to the point where if it doesn't work out between you, the both of you guys, like, and you're separate, it shouldn't be that you're separate with baggage from this experience. If you have good, healthy boundaries and that like you're actually following through with them, if something doesn't work out, even though okay, you may have some sort of emotional connection to the person, which is understandable. Anytime you want to get to know somebody, there's always that, ability to become connected with them. And truly, we are relational beings, and so emotions is just a part of that. But in that separation, it shouldn't be your heartbreak and all man is dog and gal is mess. I was going to speak. Yeah, it shouldn't be that kind of traumatic experience. So through instances in the past, I've come to recognize that I still have work to do in terms of ensuring that I am setting up boundaries and not walls, because I want to have a meaningful relationship with someone. But if I am taking matters into my own hands, like I will never have a successful relationship, because it will always be stifled by what I think is the right thing to do. And it also reminded me of how intentional we have to be in our season of singleness. Like, we talk a lot about relationships and what is required for those things to be successful. Like in relationships, we are accustomed to hearing, that you have to be intentional and you have to take these steps. But we have to take that same amount of time and attention and care in our season of singleness. Because you could be single for years upon years upon years. And because you're lonely, or you're feeling alone, you want a little Valentine's gift, you want somebody to share life with, yada, 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 you're thinking, I'm ready for a relationship. Then somebody who come and making sense reach, and you're like, huh? No, not that one, Lord. Something else. You start nitpicking at the person, you start tearing them down. Like, there would never be like one perfect person who has every single thing that you require. But if we don't pay attention to our time of singleness and really invest in that, in a hard posture of like preparing for whenever God opens the door for someone to be there, like, we will never be ready. And it was something that I was taking for granted. Just because you're single doesn't mean you're ready for a relationship. Even if you say, okay, you could desire something but still not be prepared for it. And I think that's where the dangers of having those walls up really comes into play, and why we really have to have a serious conversation with like yourself and with your friends. Do that type of introspection and like get feedback from other people in terms of like their experiences and the practical things that they could do, because you thinking you living your best life with arms wide open, only to realize your arms open, but have a whole 8-foot wall going up. Like, that's not cute. So, if we recognize, like I had to recognize that, you have walls up instead of boundaries, what are the things you have to do? The major thing I would say is that you need to relinquish the power back to God. The thing that we said here, one of the things I said is that we think that we have God in our hearts is something that we could do in our own strength, and it's absolutely not. It's something that God has to do, and we just have to follow His lead. So we have to give back that power to God. We have to say, like, Lord, I know what I'm desiring, what I'm feeling, but I know that I also kind of have a messed up view on this. So I need you to help, like, guide me along. Like, you take over. We need to give power back to God. Something else you could do is get guidance from a mentor or somebody who is trustworthy and is solid in their own spiritual walk. Someone who has walked the path that you're walking currently and has gotten to the next level. Someone like that. The whole conversation about mentorship is something really important that I feel like we take for granted. Even us, like myself, who may consider, like, some people might consider, like, to be pretty solid, and yeah, you kind of have things together, you're kind of making sense or whatever. Like, everybody needs a mentor, especially for these things. Like, especially, like, I know I'm someone who internalizes a lot, and so I will be going through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, everything. I might even take it to God, but I don't have anyone to really bounce the ideas off of who could give me guidance. So that whole element of mentorship is something that we really need to get together, yo. Also, once you realize that you usually have walls up and it's not really boundaries, once you go through those experiences, you have to ask yourself, what can be learned from this? Because just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean that there's nothing to gain from it. Like, everything that happens could be turned into good. There is something that could be retrieved from this. And that might be harder for some situations, but it's still a good thing for us to really consider. But one of the things that this calls for is being able to be honest with yourself. And this is where, again, having a mentor, having someone who is trustworthy, who is, spiritually sound, would be a really good thing for us to have, because sometimes it's easy for us to either be hard on ourselves or be too easy on ourselves. So you need someone who could kind of filter for you and be like, okay, Carissa, that really wasn't as bad as you're making it out to be. Or no, girl, sis, you let that man go too easy. No. You need to, that was toxic, that wasn't cute. So someone who could be the middleman in that respect, yeah. So in essence, yeah, that's basically all she wrote. Like, it's amazing how God reveals a lot of these things through our life experiences, and He confirms it in the way of, like, someone else talking about it in a way that you wouldn't even have really considered or hadn't thought about before. And that whole boundaries versus wall thing is something that I personally didn't think about. I just thought is a boundary because you grew up hearing these things. And I know as a Christian, you want your relationships to be intentional. Like, if you know it doesn't have the person doesn't match up in a lot of ways with you, and therefore, like, marriage would be out of the question, we are missing time. We know about that life. And so I think because we recognize how meaningful relationships are, and more so even marriages, it could put extra pressure on us, and that pressure could make us turn boundaries into walls. So I really want us to be aware of that, because I don't want us to lose out on wonderful opportunities because we're scared. Straight up, we're scared. Just talking, like, in the break when we was cutting for the editor. Just talking to David and just letting them know, like, I was really operating out of a place of fear. And I want to be transparent in the fact that, like, it's not something that I've gotten over. Even in speaking with them, there was still that element of, and uncertainty. And that just goes to show how deeply rooted it could be. Because I've had relationships before where I knew I shouldn't have been in there from the jump, even from the talking stages. From the first day of the relationship, I was like, ha, this, I'm not supposed to be here. And you waste time and all those things. And so, me not wanting to repeat those mistakes, I ended up building walls that I actually thought were boundaries. So while in my mind I'm thinking, okay, people will see me, we could have good communication, and then if something happens, it happens, great. No, I was actually stifling those opportunities. And so it's something that we have to walk hand in hand with God with. It's a daily journey. I'll give you a progress report as time goes along, because He's family now, and so we have to share with each other. Not too much. Come on, in a sense of privacy. But yeah, I hope that if you are someone who is in that single period, that you would take, if you don't take anything else from this video, one, be intentional about your season of singleness. It's so easy for us to become complacent and think that we have it all together and that we're ready for a relationship, but we need to put in the work before in order for us to be ready. Two, you cannot guard your own heart. Like, only God could do that for us in a healthy way, in a meaningful way. And three, what's the third thing I would say? Like, go easy on yourself, have grace, be intentional every step of the way. Try not to hurt nobody's feelings along the way, but sometimes it be like that. Don't take anything for granted. And yeah, I think that's all she wrote. So if you all enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share with somebody you think may enjoy as well. If you'd like to connect with me more, you can send me an email at boom right here, my email on the screen. And if you'd like to follow me on social media and connect with me in that way, my IG handle will be on the screen for you to follow me at. And I mean, until next time, you'll keep it popping for Jesus, because without him you'll be a hot what? Mess. And that's not cute. It's not cute, like for real. No walls ain't cute. No boundaries. Hashtag team love. Get it? Alright, cool. I'll see you next time. Bye! And David's back. Yay! Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is CharissaSealey, and David back. I'm freaking out. Okay. And Javon only staring at the light. It's just gonna be like, Javon keeps staring at the light, it's freaking out, and David here. Yes, but I'm seeing you now.